Should you stop talking to yourself? Pastor Bob thinks you shouldn't, but no matter how close he gets to the truth, he can't quite get over the hump into reality. Prayer is a complete waste of time. Let's see where Bob gets it all wrong. Apparently, there are a lot of Pastor Bobs on YouTube, and interestingly enough, they all kind of look the same. I was pointed toward a Pastor Bob by a viewer, and I came up with this one, which is apparently the wrong one, but he was still interesting enough to take a look at. I'll get to the other Pastor Bob coming up soon. Anyhow, Bob wants to talk about prayer and the utter futility of it, although he won't admit that it's futile because he's got a vested interest in maintaining a belief in his imaginary friend. But why does prayer fail? Why should you never tell anyone you're going to pray for them? Because all you're doing is talking to yourself and not getting anything useful done. Let's go see how this goes.
Dear Pastor Bob, I'm going through a very dark time in my life. When I confide in my Christian friends, they all say, "I'll pray for you," but offer little help otherwise. I'm not even sure they're really praying for me. Am I wrong to think this way?
No, you're not. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. When people say, "I'll pray for you," or even when they're saying, "I'll send good thoughts your way," or any of that kind of crap, what they're really saying is that they either don't know how to help you in any demonstrable way, or they really don't care enough to help you through the problem that you're facing. Real friends don't just go through the mental gymnastics to help you out. They actually do something, if something can be done. Now, if you've got terminal cancer, there probably isn't much they can do. If you're on the other side of the country or around the world, they may not have the financial or the physical wherewithal to hop on a plane and come help out. Happy thoughts and talking to themselves about you might be all they can do. It's the real friends who are on a plane at 3 a.m. coming across the country to your aid. Remember, friends help you move. Real friends help you move bodies. I guess you have to ask yourself, what are you asking for? What can they reasonably do? And what do you think you ought to expect? That's how to gauge how good of a friend they really are. But let's see what Pastor Bob says.
No, you're not. And it's really one of my pet peeves, honestly, about how Christians handle each other.
Wow, I'm actually kind of impressed, Bob. That's more than I expected from you. What else do you have to say?
This whole thing that I'll pray for you can be, well, so many ways. It's a threat sometimes. When people are mad at me, they'll go, "I'll pray for you." In other words, I'm going to sick God on you. Something.
Yeah, that happens a lot, especially against atheists who don't take any of these silly threats seriously anyway. I mean, really, why am I supposed to care if you talk to yourself about me? I don't believe in your imaginary friend. Why do you think I care if you're going to sick your make-believe pal on me? It's like saying you're going to tell Santa Claus that I'm being naughty. Sure, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
And it's a standard answer that we give when we don't really want to have much more involvement many times. I'll pray for you. And when I say that, then I don't have to be involved otherwise.
That's pretty much what I said. See, I remember how this works from way back when I was religious. Lots of people would pray for each other because they really didn't care that much what happened. I mean, Christianity is supposed to be one big brotherhood, right? Right up until you had to prove it and go out of your way for a fellow brother in Christ. Every Sunday, church services were full of prayers. We'll pray for the poor and the sick and the destitute. But we won't actually go out and do anything for them. And I get that you're talking about complete strangers, but often These were people in the church, sitting right there in the pews next to you, being ultimately ignored by the very people who could just turn to them and help out. It's really kind of sad.
Now, sometimes people say, I'll pray for you, and they do. And I'm surrounded by friends that do that, by the way. I know when they say, I'll pray for you, they will. And they know that when I say that, I will. But I really went through that same period of time myself, where I told people I'd pray for them, and I didn't. I honestly didn't.
But what difference does it make, really? Who cares if they pray? I mean, you believe there's something to it, but honestly, realistically, it doesn't help. I mean, somebody's car breaks down. What is praying about it going to do? God is not going to show up in a pair of overalls carrying a wrench and fix it. Go help these people. Or what if someone loses their job? All the prayers in the world won't get them another one. I mean, church is unofficially for networking, so go get this person a job already. It's not that hard. Seriously, I know I already told this story somewhere, but a year or so ago, a crazy driver took out a neighbor's chain link fence and then tried to run away. So while this person was trying to flee, I go out, take pictures of their license plate, then call the police and file a report. The neighbors got a nice new fence out of it, and the person who caused the problem was held accountable. I didn't pray about it, I just helped. And I didn't do it for a reward. I didn't even tell them. They found out from the police. You know, you do it because it's the thing that needs to get done. And in another case, another neighbor's mailbox got knocked down. I mean, I just saw it laying there. I have no idea who did it, but I grabbed a bag of cement, I went over there, and I put it back up. I don't even know these people. I just saw an opportunity to help someone. I had the ability to help them, so I helped them. And they have no idea who fixed it. I don't even know if they knew it was broken, but now it's fixed. No prayers required.
I would think, okay, I'm sure I'll get to that. I'm sure I'll remember, and I wouldn't. These days, when I say I'll pray for you, I do it right away. Because I know many times I'll forget, or I don't say it.
Why don't you just help them? They don't need you talking to yourself. They need help. And even if you can't solve their problem, just be a decent human being and show some human compassion and caring for their plight. But the religious? I don't know if they don't know that their religion is worthless, or maybe they just don't care, but it's a completely empty platitude. Do better.
You know, I kind of feel like for me, when I have to say I'll pray for you, it's a last resort. It means that I don't know how else to help you sometimes, honestly. It means that I don't know what else to say sometimes. And I think we need to be really careful when we use this phrase, because it promises something that you may not be delivering. Very simply.
You're not delivering anything. Be serious. What you're saying is that you're going to spend 30 seconds talking to an imaginary man in your head and expecting the problems to magically go away. Think about that for a second. That's just idiotic. I don't care how much you believe in it. Nothing fails like prayer. Every study shows it performs no better than placebo. If that's the best you can do, or the best you're willing to do, I guess it's better than nothing, but it's pretty damn close.
And this is a really legitimate question. And this person says, I feel like people are telling me that, but they're not really doing it, and nobody's really offering me any help.
Which, granted, is a good point. But it doesn't matter if they're really doing it or not. What matters is that they're not willing to get off their religious backsides and actually do anything real to help you. I mean, I'm not religious, and I help people all the time. If I see someone broken down on the side of the road, I stop and try to help. If someone gets in an accident, I stop and try to render aid. I can't tell you how many ambulances I've called for people in my life, how many tires I've changed, or batteries I've jumped, just because I've had the ability to do it. I didn't pray for any of these problems to go away. I went out and made an effort to help people, mostly people I didn't know and would never see again, because I'm a decent human being. What's wrong with the religious?
Yeah. We've talked a lot about prayer, what prayer is for. And I think that the biggest thing that we do in prayer is listening. And I would think that if we're praying for people, as we say that we are, that God would give us a little more instruction in how to help them and what to do for them.
No, prayer is really to make you feel like you're doing something when, in fact, you're not. Prayer is for you. It is not for the person you're praying for. You get the emotional benefit. They get nothing. I don't care what you believe about this imaginary man in the sky. The demonstrable fact is they don't get any kind of divine assistance. Heavenly AAA doesn't show up to tow their car. God doesn't show up with a basket of goodies to feed their hungry family. When you pray, nothing happens. You get a little dopamine hit to make you feel good, but nothing else demonstrably goes on. You haven't actually done anything useful.
And if that isn't happening, then I seriously question if your prayers
mean anything. I think even Pastor Bob here is doubting whether prayer actually does anything at all. If you're waiting for God to tell you what to do, then you've got some serious problems. God is not a helpline. This is not 1-800-GOD-HELPS. If you think it is, I don't know what to tell you.
are reciprocal. If you're listening, if you're praying for somebody and then not listening, if you're praying for somebody and God is giving you a direction for them or a way to help them or whatever, that would make sense to me.
Except God doesn't demonstrably do any of that. You've just talked to yourself, and God doesn't talk back in any objectively verifiable way. This is why religion is such a joke. I mean, this isn't like, "Are you there, God? It's me, Pastor Bob." Nothing happens. Nothing at all. And if God starts talking to you, seek professional help because your brain is malfunctioning.
But so many people saying, "I'll pray for you," and nothing seems to be happening. I question that. I really question that. And this person that wrote, you should too.
I'd question why these people are so lazy that they can't just help you out without resorting to empty platitudes shouted at the sky. Anyone who tells me they're going to pray for me, except for the laughable threatening kinds, I just shake my head and say, yeah, thanks for nothing, because you're not really willing to do anything. So just go away so I can find an entirely better class of human being who might actually help.
How do you be a good friend to those people around you? Well, the Bible says to encourage one another. It tells us to pray for one another too. Pray with one another and pray for one another. But when we do that, we're really praying for something. I'm praying for how I can help you. I'm praying for maybe how you can improve and how I can encourage you and how I can interact with you a little more effectively. You see, all of those things really are part of my prayers if I truly care about you.
Which most people don't, and that's not just Christians, it's most humans. Most people don't give a damn. As I said, they pray, if they do anything at all, to give themselves a little bit of emotional satisfaction that at least they tried to do something. Granted, it's the least effective thing they can possibly do, outside of simply doing nothing at all, but hey, it's something, right? But if you can't figure out how to help people, if you can't figure out how to be a decent human being, then you're spending way too much time with your nose in a book of ancient mythology. Go out and interact with humanity for a while. Figure out how to be a decent person. You're not going to find that in the Bible.
So let's quit throwing this around. Let's quit throwing this phrase around that says, I'll pray for you.
And how about you stop pretending that praying is a substitute for actually accomplishing something useful? Because it's not. Anyone who thinks otherwise is a reprehensible excuse for a human being.
If you really mean it, do it. And if you don't, quit saying it. It's not just something to say passively and then forget about it, like most people do. Be sincere and honest, and if you're going to pray, listen to how you can be involved as well. God bless you. Have a great day.
Like so many other apologists, he gets so close to having a good idea, and then he messes it all up because he's only concerned with his religion and not with his humanity. Now, I'm not saying that Pastor Bob is a bad person. I've got no way of knowing, but he's certainly irrational, and he's certainly not out there proactively helping the needy if he's bothering to spend time talking to himself to an imaginary man in the sky. That doesn't help. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter how much you believe otherwise. We know that prayer simply doesn't do a thing. Meaningless anecdotes and, well, I heard this happened once, stories aside, there is no evidence that there's a God. There's no evidence that this God cares about anyone, that he answers prayers, or that any of this religious mumbo-jumbo works at all. It is all objectively empty. And I'm not mad at Bob, because he almost, sort of, kind of gets it, but he's trying to take the utter failure of prayer and rationalize his way to an emotionally comforting solution that explains why prayer doesn't actually work and why so many people don't actually care. And he's trying to square it with what it says in his book of mythology without bothering to ask himself if any of it is worthwhile in the first place. Stop praying for people. Go do something to help them. This really isn't that hard. Talking to yourself never solved a problem. Actions, not words, matter. Go give that a shot.
Bum